Actually, I don't even have the theme, so we'll just start.
What?
Hey there. We're
here. I got your theme song right here.
Here I am with my man, Sully. We have a couple of books to go through. What's going on, Sully?
Nothing much. How's your morning going so far?
Oh, it's lovely. We were doing this live.
Cheer me up, Sully. This is one of our new shows that we've been developing. You know, the guys in the back room there, we got them like cranking out new material.
Yeah, they are. They're cranking it up.
You know what I mean? And we're just like, going to improve your day with a little bit of positivity and some comic books that you might not be aware of that are flying under your radar and that might deserve your $4.99.
Exactly. I think we have a bunch like 500 monkeys working on 500 typewriters. Is what we have going on. And these were the best of times. These were the blurst of times is what they've given us. But here we are. And we usually do this live and we were starting off doing it live.
Things went bonk.
Yeah, hopefully that doesn't happen as we try to record this either. My internet went out twice, and I don't know what happened because then I was trying to use my phone as a Wi-Fi hotspot. I was having a problem. And
one of your sons is installing an AI into your Ring security system, and he forgot to tell you, of course.
Well, I ended up messaging my wife a very nasty messages of, "Did you pay the damn internet bill?" She said, "Yeah," and then she asked if Zach, because my son Zach is redoing the house, and he ends up
downloading Bridgerton.
Yeah, exactly. And
you mind
Zach? I went up. I thought my son Zach, because I told him, here's my schedule and things, and he's redoing the house, and he hasn't followed the schedule. So I thought I was going to go up and see. He unhooked it, but that was not the case. It just ended up being like a quick 2 outages. Of course, at the worst possible time that we could have. I was having some fun. We were talking to people, having a grand old time. Never got to these comics that we're going to be talking about.
Now. Don't worry about it.
So we will put this up very quickly after we're done, but we're going to go through 2 comics really quickly. One being a One World Under Doom tie-in, and the other one might as well be as much as this one is, because it really doesn't tie much in except one little bit. Doom is a little away at the moment. It's weird, but we'll start with Red Hulk, and it's Red Hulk number 2. You got me to read the first one,
cool,
and I was pretty happy that I did read it. I liked it. It's a prison escape kind of deal, and that continues in this one as well, and a pretty cool issue. I actually am up and down with Ben Percy, who's writing this, but I think that he's doing a decent job, and it's a contained deal. And if you aren't reading One World Under Doom, but just want to see what's going on with, say, Deathlock, Machine Man, and Red Hulk, I think it's pretty good, right?
This is fun. It is. They call it The Great Escape, and it's Thaddeus Ross, the General Thaddeus Ross, Thunderbolt, father of Betty Ross, who and longtime adversary of his son-in-law, Dr. Bruce Banner.
Exactly. Kind of knows what it's like now, huh?
Yeah, and he's been
that's the play, yeah.
I don't even know the origin story of Red Hulk. I just know that, somewhere along the line, was it some kind of super soldier serum?
You're saying that. I have no idea either. I can't remember. So
apparently, the exposure to radiation fuels his gamma battery cells in his cell structure. So we were taught really early on that his Hulk is finite, and it's dependent on how much radiation he was able to save up in his cell structure. So he hulks out. We have this wonderful opening page. Page 1 is just an eyeful. It's a splash page full of panels, and I just think it's a really great way to tell comics.
Yeah, I agree.
Art. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to give the credits, and then we'll, jump into it in general. But it is, cool. As you said, The Great Escape. It's Benjamin Percy writing, Jeff Shaw on art, Brian Valenza on colors, and VC's Corey Petit on letters. And yeah, it is a really cool start. And then you go to the next page and you see that full page where it is just Red Hulk stomping some Doombots, which is pretty cool too. And the colors pop. We said it, I think, in the first one. Doombot. We're Hanson now. We could be the Hanson brothers. It works on all sorts of levels. We'll get the tinfoil on our knuckles and sing Oombop. It'll be great.
Every game, coach.
None of that stinking playing with the cars. When we ended up talking the last time, we did mention a bit, like some of the colors and some of the art. The backgrounds are going to be a little drab because of the idea you're in an underground facility.
Right.
But in this, you actually do have some colors and some things that pop, the electricity going here and some of the other plays. And again, this is pretty good art. I do like the art, but you're still stuck in an underground facility. And you do have a very a basic color palette for the most part, but then they accentuate it by the characters. And I think that's pretty cool, especially like Machine Man's purple. And, even when you get Deathlock's red and stuff like that. So it goes up, but it still is kind of a muted color palette with it. But I think it still does pop. And I do like the art in it. You get some emotions and things like that. And you actually have some people die.
Some pathos, some real pathos. I mean, whoever Hugo Perez, the cartel leader that was caught with them for the think tank experiment that Dr. Doom, that they're all prisoners because Doom has sequestered them to test them, to pick their minds over scenarios and situations so he can foolproof his evil plans by having this think tank.
Now, I'll ask you, have you been reading One World Under Doom?
Yeah. And
isn't this, if you actually consider this a full-out tie-in, like I'm saying that Ben Percy knows everything going on or whatever, you can look at this as Doom's evil plan. I mean, he's playing the game of, I'm not doing anything nefarious. I'm up on Front Street. Everything I'm doing is great. We kind of know that that's not going to be the case. But this is the one book I think that you see. And it is a think tank. And he could be saying, like, the end all of it, he could say, listen, I'm doing these scenarios so that I can stop them if they ever did happen. But it does look like he's trying to figure out different scenarios of how to topple different governments, how
he
to
defeated the
get
Masters
some
of
unrest.
Evil and Baron Zemo right off panel almost. He defeated the Avengers at the end of One World Under Doom issue number 1, and gave him a lecturing too. Like, I'm doing the things that you never were able to do, and that was kind of like my favorite beat so far in this. But then Ryan North has to use the F word.
Yeah,
and he's like, because you
have to do. That's
geez.
what everybody's going to add. That second issue was weird. I think that he has a little game going where he wants to trigger people, and then the next issue will untrigger them, but trigger other people because it's all over the place with what the political stance is in my mind.
Dropped the F word and their Doomstrike, the Thunderbolts tie-in. And that was a terrible issue. But we're talking about
they're
good
not
things.
Great. Yeah, we're talking good things. And what I was saying is, with Doom,
is this a tie-in?
Doom saying, and this is a tie-in, it says it, but the idea, I don't think Ben Percy would have been working on this book separate, because some of them, like a Doom Academy, seems like, okay, that book was going to come out anyway, but hey, let's tie it into this event. Because you would have, Stephen Strange ends up not being Sorcerer Supreme, so what would that mean to Strange Academy? And that was barely a tie-in. So, but in this, if it's built, you do see in the first issue where he's running the scenario with Red Hulk of kind of taking down and getting the whole, Far East after each other and stuff like that. So I wonder what his, big plan and what that would reveal of the thing. But again, this is just a prison break here. And I do like that Ben Percy shows that not everybody's making it either. Because once they take down the Doom bots, or at least some of them, this is just going to alert everything else. And that's kind of what this issue is, trying to get the rest of what would be the team.
The captures
and
now.
Take care of that. And even have a little stormtrooper, let's dress up as Doom bots with Machine Man and Red Hulk deal. And so when you get that, you have these. But Deathlock, he ends up surviving. They end up being able to help him. Obviously, once they get the collar off, he's able to kind of help them as well. I mean, without the three of them together, they would have been really screwed. But like you said, you have some of these characters that were in prison that were sending the little tap Morse code stuff.
Morse code through the walls.
Yeah, they didn't survive.
Yeah.
And as that goes on, the other Doombots are coming in, and you do have a little bit of play with Machine Man of, oh my God, they got to get out. He's running out of energy. In the meantime, Ross can't be Red Hulk. You said it's almost like a Superman play.
Right, but he's still Thaddeus Ross. He's still Thunderbolt. He's still a brilliant military mind. And he's got muscle because he's freed Machine Man. He's freed Luther Manning, a.k.a. Deathlock. And it's the real Deathlock.
Crazy.
It's Luther Manning.
Crazy.
And let me tell you, I grew up, like I was telling you last week about growing up reading my uncle's comic books. He also had a lot of Deathlock, Bronze Age-y stuff. Yeah. So I'm used to seeing that his Deathlock's AI talking to, having these conversations of justifiable force, right versus wrong, keeping to mission parameters and shit like that. So this is pretty Bronze Age-y. I like that. you know?
Yeah. No, I like, it's a crazy cast of characters. And when you even have even the ones that die, what I do like, it feels like Suicide Squad. It feels like that, or even Thunderbolts type of deal going in with Ross, and the idea that you can have some of these being a bit expendable. So you see the stakes, and you see that if you're not with Doom, he will kill you. Yeah. And that's kind of crazy. Again, they're there under the, in prison to be a think tank. He's running scenarios through them and AI and things like that going on. And in the meantime, obviously you want to get out, but Doom will just kill you if you don't go. Again, very much against what's he's showing in the actual One World Under Doom, but these things aren't really tying in very well. So I can't say like, oh my God, this means this or that, but it feels weird. It feels like this is the book that, you know what I mean? It feels like this is the book where you're seeing actual Doom, what he's really up to and doing some nefarious stuff. But in the meantime, he's talking a good game, but we'll see how that plays out, because I do think this ends up being just a prison escape and just have some fun and whatnot. But they do get away from the Doom bots, and they do, crush some of them. And Deathlock's having a ball, it seems. He loves
great
it,
fight
right?
scenes.
Yeah.
It comes down to a comic story. This comes down a lot, a fun book, because, the story is what it is, and it's a jaunty, solid story. But this art, as I like to say, art can elevate a mediocre story into something fun. And this got really good fight scenes and good panel pacing. I really like the last page. It's a nice big splash page.
That's a pretty funny reveal too. It's really a twist.
Really inventive use of your Doom bots. You know?
Oh yeah, it's crazy. And so when you have this going, they're trying to escape. They get to a shaft where there's no elevator, but there's still the shaft. They say, oh, the elevator was taken out, security measures, so they can't get out. And even when they talk, they're not sure. They're so far down below. And what they say, which is cool, because you get Machine Man, and this is the countdown. You have a lot of things, like the old Ultraman show. It's almost like, he's like 10%, 5%. I like that. But also, Ross needs to at least get the sun. He says, maybe the sun will give me a little bit of the power left. So they're in this shaft. I do like the one page where you just see them all hanging on. Deathlock looks so embarrassed that he has to hang on to Machine Man. And they also get Stryker, too. We didn't mention that. They have him. So all these guys, not the greatest of guys. It is kind of the, a-hole team, kind of. And they have to get out of here. And they do mention, boy, how many people are in prison down here? Because we went through a ton of levels. And if each level is a prison level, there's got to be thousands and thousands of people in here. But again, these are guys where I think the play will be is, would these guys save other people, or are they only for themselves? Because most of the time, these guys are all for themselves. Right. And so they end up going. But Machine Man kind of uses up all his power, and as they get out of here. But when they get out, the idea, okay, once the sun is there, man, I'm going to be pretty good, says Ross. And then they go out, it's nighttime.
Radiation, and it's like, oh!
Yeah, and he's there. It's nighttime, and you can play science and things like that, saying, "Well, there's still the radiation stuff, but
the moon
exactly." But in the meantime, it's kind of a funny thing, and they're like, "Oh, we're in Latveria." It says, Ross, and they're like, "How do you know that?" And then they turn, and there's a big mountain with Doom's face inside. Like,
it's one man Mount Rushmore.
It is. It's Mount Doomore. And he's there. And so all of a sudden, boom, you have out of that.
I'm sure.
come the Doombots. And there's a ton of them. Again, they were running from them.
Yeah.
This is, in fact,
hundreds of Doombots.
Yeah. And if this is a prison where each of those levels is a level, there's going to be a lot of Doombots. I mean, they have to feed the prisoners and watch out. So they come out. It is crazy. This crazy deal. At first, I didn't know what was going on. And they're forming a giant kaiju Doom with each of the Doombots. I'm like, that's pretty cool looking, but I don't think it's going to be very functional. Like, if this thing starts swinging and punching people, I'm kind of call bullshit, but it seems like it's just there so that Doom can announce his craziness because he's not there. And that's the one thing, like, again, if you want to see a tie-in to One World Under Doom, it's that Doom isn't there. He's doing other things, but it's pretty cool. And it says, Thunderbolt Ross, this is Dr. Doom speaking to you remotely. I will give you one last chance to surrender and pledge your fealty before I treat you as an enemy of the state and execute you for treason. I want the rest to go, we're here too. Like, Deathlock's like, hey, it's not just Ross here, it's me as well. But yeah, that's the big ending, and it's the big almost like a giant statue made of individual Doombots. It's pretty cool when you look at it. The art's really neat. I like that. One guy's yelling because he didn't want to be part of the belt buckle.
Wow.
You probably get that. The guy's like, I don't want to be that part of that belt buckle. I'm more important than that. But it's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool. I liked the issue again. I really did.
I did too, and it at least has been solicited for 5 issues. So that's the usual 5-issue mini from Marvel. But One World Under Doom as a tie-in, as an event, has 50 issues and counting so far.
9 months it has, I believe, something along those lines, and that's a lot.
It's a $3.99 book, so that makes it's one of Marvel's cheapest books. And but it's I give it an 8.0. Seriously,
yeah, I might give it an 8.5. I actually enjoyed it, and it's one of those things. Usually I'll get mad at it because it doesn't tie in, because it's a tie-in, but I'm not even treating it as a tie-in anymore.
Yeah,
I'm treating it as its own thing of a prison escape, and I think that's a cool way to. Yeah, you have Doom in it. That's the deal, but he's not there. But the prison escape is so contained that you could just read this. You don't need to be reading One World Under Doom.
It's fun, and with the stakes, we're giving we're parsed up. Benjamin Percy does a wonderful job of pacing with his story beats here and building simple tension. And sometimes fun and simple, it does the job. We have a saying in the kitchens. I'm a professional chef. KISS, keep it simple, stupid, or keep it simple, Sully. And it's a principle I've gone all my life. Even famous chefs will say, the older I get, the more I like simpler, but executed to the best abilities kind of plates. You don't have to have you don't have to be absolute Martian Manhunter to tell a simple story, tell a great story.
Which, again, just as an aside, we talked about Absolute Martian Manhunter on our live stream, the DC side of things, and it's kind of a basic story with crazy art is what it ended up being. So I can't. I even said a lot of people giving it 10s. It's the first issue. I can't give it a 10, and it just is. And basically, I think I did end up saying without that art, without that Javier Rodriguez art, the thing then falls to like a 5 or a 6. There's not much going on. The art is a big thing.
He does his own coloring too. And the coloring was the best part of it. This was a book that was about that it was sold on.
Yep, yeah.
This coloring.
And if you like the art, I'm usually not that big an art guy, but that's not my cup of tea, that art style. So that pulled me back as well.
No, it really wasn't.
Yeah, so that's a problem. But here, it's standard
Tintin
comic book
acid.
Art, right? Yeah, really, it was. It was, and you don't
but
need
it's supposed to be trippy. It's supposed to be heady.
That's what it is. And it's based around that. You can tell it's based around the art. But even in the next issue of this, you see, again, it's a prison escape. They're out of the prison, but they still have to get out of Latveria, get out. Right. And you even have a classic deal where it looks like they're running through the woods together.
Or die,
yeah, exactly. Skywalker. So I'm 8.5. You're an 8. So we'll go to the next book.
Our aggregate score is 8.25.
Yeah, really. There you go. And pretty positive. We said it has to be positive. So
we're having fun.
Yeah. Now the next book is a weird one. When it first was announced, and I didn't see it announced. I actually, as I first saw it, that it came out, right away I thought, yep, me and Sully are doing this.
Yeah.
And jumping into it, you have to be in a certain frame of mind. Now, the DC side of things has the legendary stuff. So you end up having, the current Godzilla versus Kong. And that actually there's a sequel coming out to that. But this is just classic Godzilla. And you end up, it's by Ryan North. And I was like, okay, well, I got a lot of Ryan North nowadays. But, and then I saw John Romita Jr. was on art. Yeah. I do like John Romita Jr. I know that he's not, people say he's lost a step a bit like that, but you know what? It looks pretty good. Like this, actually, John Romita's art, I think you can tell that he is into this. And I think that it fits the old school-esque deal that's going on. And even Ryan North seems to be writing a little bit more of kind of Silver Age, but it's not current. It's supposed to be written as this. Yeah, it's out of continuity. But it's written as old school deal because they have fought Godzilla before and they even reference it. But I'll give the credits real quick and then we'll get into it. Godzilla versus Fantastic Four, Ryan North writing, John Romita Jr. on pencils, Scott Hanna on inks, Marcelo Menez on colors, and VC's Travis Lanham on letters. And this seems to be an ongoing deal now. He's going to fight the Hulk next, it seems. Like Godzilla's just going to wake up.
There are six one-shots. So, and so maybe it's an overarching story.
Yeah, and even if it isn't, I'm still kind of into it. And some of the variant covers, there's a Peach Momoko variant cover.
11 variant covers for this.
Yeah. So they're kind of going into it. Now, at the end, there is a letter by the editor saying how great a thing this is, and it's a stupendous event and things like that. It's not. It's fun. It's a fun one-shot. And I think that people who just want to have something to relax and read and have it's going to end up wrapping up real quick. Mm-hmm. And the idea of the plan and things like that, they're going to be very quick. Feels, again, like an old school type deal. But you do get some wow moments. And I think that I said John Romita Jr. does a bunch of full page spreads, does a bunch of things. And I think that he's enjoying himself doing it.
New York City skyline. He grew up in Manhattan. And so I just... Nobody draws a better New York City than John Romita Jr. Johnny and it's by hand. It's never a 3D asset. It's just because that's his muscle memory. He's got this wonderful, just sense of style. And for me, this is generational because I do have some criticisms, and it's mostly outside of Romita's, Johnny Jr.'s, it's outside of his line art. It's more of modern stuff. I mean, if we're going to pick, saying that Johnny's art has declined over the years, I mean, have you truly ever looked at an Amazing Spider-Man inked by Dan Green or an Uncanny X-Men inked by Al Williamson or one of those Daredevil books inked by Williamson? I mean, he's only gotten better with the level of assistance and with better inkers, especially Danny Miki and Scott Hanna, in my humble opinion. I mean, I would have loved to have seen Romita gotten inked by someone like Art Thiebaud. I hope it's out there. I mean, he did the Mark Miller Wolverine inked by Klaus Janson. And that's just wow, what an amazing 12 issues.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Romita's, and I think Romita, there's the dividing line. It was at Kick-Ass, which is inked by Danny Miki, I believe. And that's when his style got like glossier and just, I think that was his 21st century turning moment.
Yeah. That was his turning moment. I'm telling you, when we would review things and put it up, just people, especially on the Amazing Spider-Man stuff that he'd done recently, people just end up ripping him apart. But I still like him. I do like him. And I think that this is really good.
Romita Jr. And it's fun because he also draws a very specific Godzilla. I'm not the biggest kaiju or Godzilla fan, but I do know that this Godzilla reminds me of the Silver Age or the Bronze Age more. For me, this reminds me of Creature Double Feature on Saturday afternoons.
I used to like Creature Double Feature.
This is Gojira of the 50s and 60s.
Yeah,
the rubber suit.
And again, you're playing that up because it is kind of the Fantastic Four. And you have the Fantastic Car, which looks classic. You have all the things. And it doesn't. If you do look, I mean, you even have the idea of, hey, when the creature first attacked and you see the whole Tokyo deal, but you see old cars as well in that. So it kind of has that feel of, it's supposed to be current, but it has that, Silver Age type feel of it. I like it.
Fantastic Car. It's like version 1. I love the version 1 suits. The first thing we have is just Ryan North can write some really good Fantastic Four. I've seen him do it several times, especially on this past run. And this is pretty good because it just starts off with Ben Grimm.
Classic, right?
Being Ben Grimm. Everyone gets a line, and everyone's talking in character, and which is I like it.
The best is he really wants to get everybody get a line. At one point, Johnny is yelling, pretending to be Ben when he really didn't need to. I don't think it was a weird play, but it was funny because then Ben starts yelling as well. I'm like, why was he pretending to be you, Ben? I don't know. But yeah, you have it that Godzilla. I mean, here's the classic setup. Godzilla's back and now he's attacking New York. That's basically it. And they have to stop him. Obviously, it's a Fantastic Four. And as you end up having it start, it seems as if, hey, not everybody is able to get involved right away. They actually bring up like, oh, my God, what's going on? Where's Silver Surfer? And they give you the current continuity and things like that of the Silver Surfer. But in the meantime, you do end up having the Fantastic Four just try to fight Godzilla, but it's Godzilla. So they're having problems. They're trying their best. They're walloping them. Reed gets the big fist. Yeah. So it ends up where I mean, they're in big trouble. Sue has to save their ass with a bubble at one point. I mean, he just turns around. They're fighting at a good set piece of the Statue of Liberty. Ends up getting kind of blasted a little, but the base. And then Godzilla just like walks away. It's funny because Godzilla finally is like, yeah, you guys are just like flies. I'm heading to New York City. And so what Reed ends up saying is, I ended up kind of positioning, we're sending them right to the Baxter Building. And again, this is going to be very quick, but I thought Ryan North did a good enough job to explain the things. And you're playing with the trope of it kind of feeling old schooly too, because Reed just says, I'm going to electrify the Baxter Building. So when it hits it, he's going to go down, but I'm going to die as well. So you guys get out of here. And they're like, no way. We're not letting you go. We're not Fantastic 3 and one dead guy. And so they end up working together, and they do work well together. Sue is insulating Reed as he's grabbing a bunch of, cables and stuff and ripping them out and trying to reroute them. What I did like, too, is as you're going, you set that up. Then you hit the credits and you get the old school deal of the Avengers fighting Godzilla. I thought that was really neat, the way
there
that
used to be a Marvel comic called Godzilla King of Monsters. It was in the Bronze Age and the licensed property thing that pretty much saved Marvel from total obscurity.
Yeah, they were grabbing some
in the late
licenses
70s.
And stuff like that. Star Wars and Godzilla and stuff. That is pretty cool.
Marvel heroes showed up and in those books, except for Star Wars, but I don't know if they showed up in Shogun Warriors, but they showed up in Micronauts and they showed up in ROM and they showed up in Transformers that one time.
yeah. So you have that, and it's really cool. And again, this is the classic property, the new, and these things with movies and things, you have it's like Friday the 13th. Like if I have the rights to Friday the 13th, but you have the rights to Jason, and it's all over the place. So this is the classic.
That's Jim's actually bringing up a real happenstance, in the Friday the 13th.
It's crazy, right?
And licensing, yeah.
So they just fight about who. So this is the idea again. DC has the new Legendary movie license, but you're still allowed to use this Godzilla license, obviously. So
I wonder if because they're going to have a Thor one shot, an X-Men one shot, a Spidey one shot, and a Hulk one shot. And I wonder if are we going to see a spectrum of Godzilla?
That'd be cool.
Like the Matthew Broderick 1998 one, which was terrible. But
it was awful. Zilla. And you want Gadzuki, the little guy.
I wanted to see the cosmic Gadzuki.
I think we're going to have Gadzuki by the end. We have to have Gadzuki, whether or not they have the license. I think they're giving away that license.
That would be great.
Me and you could have a Gadzuki comic for crying out loud. But again, the Godzilla runs into the Baxter Building, and it tumbles down. Sue's able to save him. The funny thing is, Reed's like, I'm going to take the brunt of it. I'll do this, but I'll die. And all you really have to do is have Sue make a bubble around you. Like, why would you say, I'll do it alone? But it's fun.
He's just going to be heroic.
Yeah, he was. He wants to get laid.
I wonder if he's even married.
He wants to get laid. Yeah, it's
exactly.
Weird. So, and even then, the faces and stuff, they look really, really good. I'm telling you, really, really good. At the one point when they're getting out of the rubble and it's the four of them.
Yeah.
It's great. Ben
Page
looks
15,
awesome.
I'm looking at that right now.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now where he's like, but Galactus ain't got a herald.
What a great thing. I love a very well-rendered Ben Grimm. It's just, it's
really good, right?
It's really good.
Just on that side and the paneling and the way he does it.
And
it's
on
really
this page, too, is one of those things we noticed in the JMS versus kind of his one-shots using old comics as touchstones. It's an asterisk, and it says "See Fantastic Four, Volume 1, Issue 50." And that's about the Silver Surfer's trapped here on Earth after defying Galactus.
Yeah. So you set that time frame. You set it back to the deal, so that's pretty cool. So you have
why, that. Silver Surfer shows up and why King Ghidorah is, the new holder of the cosmic power.
Herald. And that's the craziest thing when I always say Ghidorah. I'm telling you, I'm not a big Godzilla fan as well. I just end up knowing a couple things because Eric, who used to do the DC stuff, a huge fan, and I'd get some things kind of secondhand from him. But when he shows up and he's the Herald, I'm like, all right, again, you only have a certain amount of pages. And so what are you going to do? You make Ghidorah the Herald. I'm in. That's pretty cool that he has come to Earth to destroy everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's going to destroy everything because Galactus finally wants to get this taken care of. And that the whole play of that does tie into when, you ended up having Silver Surfer kind of stay and kind of roam. And he's like Bruce Banner, like Kane from Kung Fu. He's been wandering the world. He shows up then. And the big play is, I'm going to have to give somebody the cosmic. And we have the Fantastic Four. Oh, cool. And I'm thinking, that'll be cool seeing those, the Fantastic Four with the power cosmic. But he's like, no, not you schmucks. You're not going to do crap. It gives it to Godzilla. And I'm like, you know what? That's what you have to do because the book is Godzilla. So if you don't, you're putting Godzilla aside. That's awesome. And says, I don't know if this is going to work. Godzilla is not exactly, the greatest, but he just reacts and he's against Ghidorah. So you end up where he makes the cosmic power, and that's Godzilla what you have with Godzilla. Has a
character. He's got a motive. He's got a sense of right and wrong. He does get smashy and he gets angry and moody, but overall, he's a good guy.
Yeah, and I mean, the idea of Godzilla, most people know the idea of, with the atomic bomb and what would have happened because of that. At the end, that was Godzilla coming and kind of taking it to the streets because of what humanity has done and kind of just gets mad at things, but has had like hero turns and this. But again, you see, King of all monsters and stuff like that. You end up where Ghidorah's there and Godzilla, he's going right for him. So it's a cool thing to get that big kaiju battle. And it ends up being like the Herald stuff, too. And what I was worried about afterwards, that they were going to have Godzilla being the full-out Herald and things like that would have been crazy. But you end up where they fight. And you get a kaiju fight, right?
Yes.
But it's back and forth. And unfortunately, Ghidorah is pretty intense and also is the Herald, also has the cosmic.
Pretty OP.
Yeah, he is OP, and he's taking down Godzilla, and they need to do something to distract Godzilla. At one point, they sling Ben. And I love the idea. Ben gets slung into the fight. He kind of punches Ghidorah and then gets tossed aside. And as he's flipping around, he's like, this was a bad idea. It made me laugh. I thought he would say, this is a revolting development. Should have been the line with the way that Ben goes. But you end up where Sue, again, because of this feeling old school, it's Sue. And a lot of times, issues and stories would end with crazy, hey, I've been working on this. Hey, I tried this. And that's what Sue says I've been working on, projecting a bigger image of something.
Right.
Like
this is like a Ryan North thing, too, because he had Sue do this, I believe, in One World Under Doom #1, where Sue is basically using her powers like a Green Lantern ring. She made like a Boeing 747 kind of constructs, to fly all the heroes, to another part of, to the Latveria, for a showdown.
In that, and then you ended up having, I don't think this is a good idea when they were flying in, and Spider-Man was nervous and stuff like that. Spider-Man's there with Johnny. He's like, I don't know about this. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It was weird that they just didn't get a regular plane and that, but they did go in invisible, though. Are you invisible inside? It's that crazy deal. But makes a big giant, pretty much a projection of the thing. You can see through them, all that, but Ghidorah is going to be, thrown up because it's, and also kind of playing the idea Ghidorah is going to go after the biggest thing. It looks around and sees this huge bend. So now you end up where he says, hey, King Ghidorah, why don't you pick on someone your own size, huh? That's right, you big three-headed lug. The ever-loving blue-eyed thing is calling you up, but that's Johnny yelling it. And I didn't get the idea, almost like Johnny has to project the voice or whatever. But then Ben starts yelling. I'm like, I think Johnny just wanted to. Yeah. It was funny, but I'm like, why? Why would he have to do that? But it was funny. I think that Johnny just jumped in and started screaming things. And then Ben's like, oh, man, we're going to take it down. And also Ben's upset because he thinks his adoring public is going to think that he wasn't quite right in this fight. Ghidorah goes through, obviously, he's just a hologram type deal. And goes through that. He attacks it, but that gives the play where they were distracting him. So Godzilla can then, and I really wanted a body slam. Godzilla grabs him around the waist. I'm like, ooh, we're going to get like a DDT or something like that. But he ends up just kind of zapping out the cosmic of it. Ends up where they both live. One of the best plays in this to make it old school sounding is that Godzilla afterwards, for no reason apparently, gives back the cosmic
unexpectedly surrendered the color cosmic back to the Silver Surfer. It's Reed and it's and research log supplemental.
If this didn't feel like an old school comic in art and story, I would have called complete bullshit on that. I would be like, really? But the way that it plays out, that's classic. That's the classic deal as he just kind of walks back into the ocean. To, I guess, fight Hulk next.
Man.
Yeah. So when you end this, you end up having, and really, if you go with the idea, it's out of continuity, as we said, but you could play a little back in the day issue, whatever it would be, a little bit between the lines there of, oh, that was what happened then. It doesn't really matter because at the end it's all reset and everything like that. So I thought that was a pretty cool play. And yeah, Godzilla just ends up going. Ghidorah goes back to his homeworld, which is odd because he's already kind of destroyed it, they said already, and he's just going to go back to a barren deal because he killed everybody. But Galactus is pissed. And the other play is Galactus might have had something to do about the old idea of the Herald deal, but he ends up just letting it go. And they're like, oh, is this the last time we'll see Galactus? Well, obviously, because things would continue from this point, you would definitely see him and things like that. But what's Godzilla? They say Godzilla gets back to Cosmic and then just walks into the ocean to live another day, fight another monster. And it does look again. I didn't realize. I thought this was just a one shot. And we did have the facsimile a month ago or so with the Godzilla #1, King of Monsters deal. And so I thought that this was just, hey, let's play around. But yeah, you have next month, it's Godzilla versus the Hulk. And yeah, that sounds pretty cool. I'm kind of into that. We'll see what is going on there. And if it's, the same creative team, I haven't looked at solicits or anything like that to see, but I hope it is. So with that, or maybe get like current writers of the deal, maybe Phil Kenny Johnson with John Romita Jr. or something like that going, but they might switch it around. We'll have to see. But I thought it was good. What would you give it?
I'm going to give it a solid 7.5.
Yeah. Why am I more positive than you today? I'm giving it an 8.
It's hard to give. It's hard to get an 8 out of me. It's even harder to get a 9.
That's what I heard, Sully.
But hey, waka here.
Oh my goodness! But yeah, I liked it, and I'm starting to get into this mode of a comic does, it has a mission statement, and if it does it, I'll rate it towards that as well. And I think that it does pretty well in one single issue, giving it, there's a lot of hand waving. There's a lot of old school feel, but because it's old school, I like it.
If Johnny did his own sound effects, it would be would be an 8.5 because it's just some of those just digital slapped on cut and paste. They just take you out of the panel a bit because it's not congruent with the rest of it going on.
There is a lot of it. I should have mentioned that while we're going. There is a lot of swooshes and scracks and all that. But yeah, I can see what you're saying.
Yeah, but it's that's a generational thing. Johnny hasn't done his own onomatopoeia in a while.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it takes some time, and they're probably like, listen, the guy, whatever it takes your time, don't worry
do that
about
in post.
that. Yeah,
I wonder
do that
if he
later.
even sees it. If I ever have the chance and honor to meet Johnny Romita Jr. at a con, I'd like to ask him: do you ever see the physical copies? Like when you're done, did you get to read ASM 31? And can you see what I see with it when it comes to
Yeah, I'm sure that he
Johnny,
checked
draw
those
your own
out
sound
too.
effects,
Yeah,
please. I appeal to you.
You're begging him. You're begging him so much to do it. And as I'm going through this, in the review copy of this, you did get a bunch of pages in the end. You get them in the beginning here, but I like the way that they set it up in the review copy with the variant covers and things like that. But some of them are really cool.
Covers and a really nice Scotty Young.
Scotty Young, I was just going to say, is really cute and funny. It's really good.
It's Ben inside of a rubber suit. And so it's a joke within a joke.
And then Johnny's there like, bro, it's versus Godzilla, not dress up as. And Ben's like, yep, that makes more sense.
Yeah, and you got good. Godzilla, King of All Monsters mock-up. It looks like a Bronze Age book. That's pretty fun.
Yep, the versus one's pretty cool.
I like the versus
Godzilla
one a lot.
Thing, that's pretty cool with that. So yeah, these are really cool, and it's something again. I would suggest if you have any interest, something just quick and fun and just as an aside deal. I think it's, you could buy worse this week, especially. And I think it's pretty good. So I'm giving it an 8. You're a 7.5.
Yeah.
Onomatopoeia would have really rocketed you up.
Don't spend your money on
Johnny.
Doom Academy or Doom. Well, Doom Division, I don't want to even mention in with criticism. except for that there is a Filipina superheroine. Her name's Wave, and I was going to say, we didn't get to it yesterday, but I was going to say, Wes, is this your sister-in-law? But
yeah, really, it might be.
Yeah.
He'd be like, no, it is not.
It's a Pan-Asian team, yeah. But
some of these tie-ins and things aren't the greatest. So,
I will say this. I did like Fantastic 430 more than most. I thought the art was pretty good. And it's just like, once again, Ryan North can really knock it out of the park here and there. And like a lot of people had problems with that Johnny Storm loving the centipede, the space centipede. I didn't because intrinsically,
because you love centipedes.
That's that too. Well, you'll never get better hugs. But it's a science fiction story, and it's about. Interspecies love has been a huge tenet of science fiction for as long as it's been
Captain
around.
Kirk. That's all I think. He'll nail anything. Centipede, whatever. Doesn't matter how many legs, arms you have. That's more for love and for him.
I'm expecting that, they're at a future issue you're gonna see like a Firefly, a kid, the love child of Johnny Storm. And the Centipede.
It'd be so funny. This crazy Firefly would be cool.
Exactly,
and it's just on fire and stuff. It looks like Tinkerbell or something.
Marvel, call me. I'm in that.
Yeah, you're in. You are. But thanks for joining me, Sully, because that is it for the deal. And I'm glad that we got to talk again. Yeah. If you're watching this and you were on our live feed earlier, I apologize. My internet went out twice. I ended up getting back on, and then we tried to, and then I got kicked off again. And so we just decided it would be better off just recording it like this. I can edit some things and whatnot. And then we put this up on YouTube, but also on the podcast. So with that, hopefully, the next time we do this, it doesn't go walkie.
Yeah, live and learn, as we say. And thank you, everyone out there in TV land. And make sure that you're subscribed to Weird Science. Subscribe to Jim. You'll get plenty of comic book news. Pop culture's going
nonsense stuff,
and
right?
nonsense and plenty of dirty lyrics,
things, singing,
songs,
all that. But tell them where they can find you, Sully.
You can find me at my name, Eric O'Sullivan, here on YouTube. There's an apostrophe between the O and the S. It's not my middle initial. It's my last name.
I thought it was O-H because they're like, O'Sullivan.
Yeah, I'm on a march to 2,000 subscribers. So anyone, you just tune in, hit that subscribe button, turn on those notifications if you could, smash that like button. Yeah, hopefully by the end of this year, I'll be at 2,000 subscribers. I'm a small channel, but I keep reaching for the stars.
Yeah, you keep going. And please, go and subscribe to Sully's channel. It's great. He has live shows. He ends up having a lot of positive stuff on his show, even some cooking stuff. And you've given me personal cooking tips. So I have to say that they're right on. So please go, and we'll get you to 2,000 and then everything. And then you'll be yelling, you want to be to 20,000. And then you can
my first 1 million.
Be satisfied. But yeah, go and check out Sully's channel, please. And with that, thanks, Sully. And we'll talk to you all later.
Bye.